You are now listening to Vigilantes Radio, presented by the Only One Media Group. This is the people's choice for quality interviews, celebrities and special guests. Hosted by Demetrius Dini Reynolds. Call in to join the mix at 701-801-9813. For the complete archive of episodes, visit onlyonemediagroup.com and be sure to like us on Facebook at Vigilantes Radio. We welcome all. Enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Demetrius Houdini Black Reynolds. Enjoy the show.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Good afternoon, first and foremost. Man, there are over 28,000 of you guys on the phone lines today. Man, you guys are going to break the internet, but it's all good because we can house all of you guys, so no worries there. What I want to tell you guys is winners make it happen. Do you know anyone who always complains that they have things to do? I have to go to work today. I have to finish that report. I have to pay the bills. I have to take my family to the park. The winners in life realize that no one has to do anything. But everything you do by choice. When you blame other people and situations for your troubles, you are giving them complete control over your life. You're like, what, Dini? Yeah, that's for real. Looking for someone to blame is the easiest way of avoiding responsibility. And if you continually avoid responsibility, you'll succeed in completely losing control over your own life. If you feel you have to do a lot of things that you don't want to do, realize that you made the choices that put you in that position. The good news is that you can also make the choices which will get you out of that position. It all starts with taking responsibility for your own life. Instead of complaining that you have to do things, decide to do things. Set a direction for your life and decide to do the things that will get you where you want to go. You can have control over your own life if only you'll step up and take charge of it. Quit blaming and start acting responsible for your own fate. That is my word, and word is bond. Take it from me, dini-mussolini.
You're live in the mix. Let's get this started.
Yo, it feels so good to be back with you guys once again. So one time for my people who are indigos and starseeds, and 2 times for my people who are vegans. We are averaging over 34,000 plus listeners, and we've been at this for 3 solid years. I appreciate all you guys who've been rocking with the kid on this journey, and we're still growing, baby. It is all because of you, most definitely. We are the people who have dedicated their lives to music, spirituality, business, literature, art, movies, and research in every aspect. And we want to allow you an opportunity to tell your story. Man, we've had celebrities on the show, from Grammy Award-winning artists, nominees, to actors, comedians, CEOs, technology geniuses, visual artists, from authors to professors and aliens, or people who think they're aliens. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. Come on our show and talk to me. So check it out. To book an interview or just to share a real cool story, email me at theradio@onlyonemediagroup.com. I'm passionate about what I do, just as passionate about what you do, and together, yes, together, we can get your voice heard by the people who should hear it. So let's create something incredible. And with that, hello out there, and welcome to another episode of our podcast, Vigilantes Radio. Thank you again, as always, for tuning in and being a part of our audience family. You know the number to dial. It's 701-801-9813 to connect with us or our guests, or you can hop in and mix directly from my website, which is only1mediagroup.com. Scroll over to the Vigilantes Radio tab and slap that Go Live button, and you'll be right here live in the mix with all of us or in the chat room. So feel free to shoot over some questions to ask our guests while they are here. And as always, all episodes are available for free download. You can grab that from Spreaker.com/only1mediagroup, iTunes, YouTube, the app called Podcast Addict, or over at our website. And that goes for every single episode that we've ever aired.
All right, so we don't want to keep 28,000 of you guys waiting any longer, so let's go ahead and dive deep into this interview, shall we? Oh, yeah, we shall. So today's interview is the Gail-Turner-Brown interview, and I am your host, dini-mussolini. Our interviews go beyond the music, beyond the blogs, the books, the businesses, the movies, and into the minds of the people who create it. From researching our interviewees, relentlessly mining for details, and listening and reading or watching everything we can, our interviews are designed to bring out the best possible answers. We're like TMZ, through thought-provoking questions that have some real substance. Well, maybe we're not like TMZ. And of course, no shade involved there. We're just trying to exist among the media giants, right? Well, our guest this afternoon is none other than Gail-Turner-Brown, if you didn't guess it already. She's a broadcast entrepreneur. She's a co-host on a podcast called the-monetize-u-show. She specializes in B2B, which is business to business. She's a marketing consultant, business strategist, and interviewer of influencers. I like that last one especially. And well, with that, guys, let's go ahead and welcome her to our show. Gail-Turner-Brown, you're now live in the mix with all of us. How's it going and how are you feeling?
I am feeling fantastic. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. I am so stoked. This is so exciting. I love what you are doing. I really, really love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is really great. I mean, the indigo, I'm like, okay, I am like so into that. So this is going to be good.
Oh, yeah. So, how's the weather where you're at?
Oh, yeah, it's like an amazing day today. It's low 70s. I am on the East Coast in Maryland. So, the sun is shining, the birds are singing, we're going into fall, obviously, but it's amazing. It's really nice today. So.
That sounds great. So, straight out the gate, Gail, and as real as we can get on the level, what gets you out of bed in the morning to do all the work that you are doing for small businesses development and entrepreneurship?
Well, one thing that gets me out of bed every day is pay the bills, like everybody else. But other than that, and in all seriousness, we are on, I'll say, a mission to bring entrepreneurship to the front. And to let people know that it is available to everyone. Now, my success partner that I co-host with on our show, he has a saying that everyone may not be able to be an entrepreneur, but everyone is entrepreneurial. And when we understand that if you've got more than one bill, why are you trying to pay it with one revenue source? Okay, so that's pretty much, I'm on a mission to make sure that people understand that they have a talent, a skill, an expertise, even a hobby that they can turn into a revenue stream. And so why not tap into that? Because oftentimes you're really surprised how much you enjoy it. So that's what gets me up every day, to say, what else can I do? What else can I bring, to the table to let people know, hey, here's an idea, here's a concept, here's a strategy, here's a tool that you can use to really reach the goals that you want to achieve.
Definitely. I don't know if this happens to you, but I get those people as well who they have a hobby and they want to say, okay, I wanted to monetize my hobby. What do I do next? What do you normally tell them?
Well, a lot of it depends, obviously, on what it is. And we kind of go through a strategy, an in-depth mindset, because, to be honest, that's really where it starts. Okay, you have to have the right mindset that it can be done. So that's what I normally tell people. And depending on what the hobby is, there are all kinds of ways that it can be monetized. From whether you can create a book, you can create a class, a course, you can pair up with other people that has maybe a complementary hobby, of yours. So let's say you're a scrapbooker, then you may be able to reach out to people who have the pieces that go into your scrapbook, or have concepts or titles or ideas that you can collaborate with, and you can generate revenue from that. So it literally is endless, but you have to be willing to seek it out. And obviously, if someone is coming to you saying, this is what I do, how do I make this happen? How do I turn this into something? That's always where it starts. And then you can begin to explore all the various possibilities. So I normally just try to take people through a series of questions to help tap into, let's figure out what is the best way to generate revenue from this hobby, this thing that you do.
Right. Okay. So as one of the few people out there that understands all that goes into what you do and the enormous self-imposed workload that comes with it, what makes it all worthwhile for you to do it all, and what are the intangible personal benefits that people wouldn't realize come with the territory?
There is a certain amount of freedom that one has. Now, be real straight up, there's also a certain amount of freedom that you don't have anymore, because you are now totally relying upon your resources, your resourcefulness, and so people do need to understand that. However, throughout my life, just like with most people, I was employed, had been employed for a really long time. And I will never forget the day that that I was told, you can't get a raise this year because you make too much money. And trust me, it was not too much money at all. Okay, it was not, especially at that time. It was not. And so to be beholden upon someone that says, this is how much you're worth, and once you reach that cap of what we've determined that this job holds, you can't go any higher. So to have someone else dictate to me how much I'm worth, what I can do and can't do. I also remember the days after I have two sons. They're both grown now. But when my second son was born, right after my second son was born, obviously, you got to go to doctor visits and so on and so forth. And I remember, even though I had been with my company for more than 10 years and always been there and never, was absent, I got called into an office saying, you've been out a lot. And I'm like, yeah, I just had a baby. What do you expect? And right. So it infuriated me to think and to know that my company wanted me to make a choice between my children or my child, my baby at that point, and my job. And I remember telling my supervisor, if you want me to make this choice, you lose, because there is no choice in that. So the benefit of being able to carve your own life, determine what is it that you want. You can also, once you get it down and get things really going, you can create your own paycheck. And right. And depending on what you're doing, depending on what industry you're in or the platforms that you use, there are often times that you can literally dictate and determine, okay, we need to make this much revenue this year. What do we need to do? And then you back into it in order to achieve that goal. So there's no more waiting for someone else to tell you when you can increase your salary, when you can be there for your children or your family, when you can take vacation and when you can't. So that kind of freedom that you have is, I just don't see anything being able to come close to that. So that's what drives me, and that's what helps me go through. I mean, literally, I don't think I went to bed until like 3:30 this morning, and I was back up at 7. So, and that's not the first time that has happened. So you're definitely going to work harder than you have ever worked before. But it's worth it when you know that you are trying to accomplish something. The other thing that I will say too that really got me going when I was an employee is I'm a very creative person, and I felt that my creativity was being stifled. And so as your own person, you've got to use all of your resources, everything that you was given, you got to use in order to succeed. And so that's the other thing too. I like being able to use my brain as opposed to being in a job that sometimes it gets to a point where you're brain dead because you've done it over and over and over again. It's so rote that you're just not using the brain power anymore. As an entrepreneur, you're going to use it. And so that's what drives me, and that's what makes me keep going and going and going.
Right. I don't know if you can relate to this, Gail, but some of the things you're saying now is some of the stuff that I went through as well. But as a creative person, do you find your brain just thinking of all kind of ideas at all times of the day, and you want to do them all, but you got to stay focused on the main ones before you dive into something new?
Absolutely. I tell people all the time, sometimes I feel like I have the attention span of a gnat on steroids. Okay? I mean, it's just the way it is. And yes, you're right. One of the things I tell people, and my colleagues have to kind of rein me in, because they're like, no, wait a minute, Gail, let's finish this first. Let's do this first. Because they come. You're not looking for them, they just come, and they can flood your brain. But for me, that is where it is hugely beneficial to have people around you that you can go to and say, okay, this is a concept that I'm thinking of, give me some feedback. It's great to have people to help keep you accountable. Trust me, I have people who say, whoa, hold up, don't do that just yet. Let's stick with this. And it's really, really helpful to have someone that will hold you accountable, tell you the truth, and that they have your best interest at heart. So that's how I help to resolve some of that, is to make sure I'm surrounded by the right kind of people that can help me through that.
Right. Let me ask you this. For all of my ideas, I have to-do lists, or I'll jot the idea down so I can go back to it at a later date. But I have at least 35 to-do lists. Books. I had to number them, and I came up with 35. And then on my phone, I have, like memo pads and one I call InkPad and Keep and OneNote. So they are also to-do lists on those as well for the books. So I have a to-do list for my to-do list.
Yes. Yes, I can relate.
What is your advice in that kind of scenario?
Okay, so you have, and I will be totally transparent. This is an issue that, as I just noted, I'm attention span of a gnat with steroids. I totally get it, because that's what I would do too. I use my phone a lot. I use technology a lot to do my to-do list. And so what I would do is I would reach out to people who are a lot more structured and organized than I am and say, okay, what are some of the tools I can use? What do I need? How do I need to do it? And so the advice that has been given to me is that, you got to whittle that down and look at, okay, what is the highest priority? You always want to be looking at your business in terms of what is going to create the revenue that I need? What is a revenue producing activity versus just an activity that I want to get done? Mm-hmm. Because, as they say, you cannot do it all, and cannot get it all done. And you have to be able to focus on one thing at a time in order to see it to its completion, because then that will also help you to analyze, okay, do I need to go to this book right now? You can jot down those notes. That's great. And using technology such as you mentioned, Evernote, I use that. A lot of times I'll record myself. A lot of times I'll pull up a Google Doc and I'll jot things down there and say, okay, I need to do this. But I don't focus on them. I can't make those a priority if I have a project in front of me that really needs to be completed. But it's always good. And here's the other thing too. This is, again, it's kind of a way I have to kind of trick my brain. A lot of times I don't say the word to-do list, because it's like I have to do this. And when you do that, you can get overwhelmed. So, and especially when it comes to these are projects that I would like to do. Not so much of, do I need to make sure to get this bill paid, or do I need to make sure to reach out to this vendor, but in terms of these extra projects. So I'll create, names for those types of things, and I also have broken them down. You got a whole year. So it's like, these are the accomplishments I want to have created in this quarter, or during this particular month, or before this, the year goes out. So I look at them as accomplishments as opposed to do, because sometimes just the words can mess up your brain. It's like saying going on a diet, which all of a sudden that means, oh my God, I cannot eat my German chocolate cake. Versus going into a fitness program or a health and wellness program or something like that. It's a different way of thinking, and when you can change how you think about it to something that makes you feel good, then you're a lot more capable and a lot more, the potential for you getting it done has increased exponentially. Right. So those are some of the ways that I've used to kind of trick my brain, into saying, yes, I have things to do, but let's say these are things I want to accomplish, but the priority are these things right here, because this is what's going to drive my revenue to get me to those other projects. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Perfect sense. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So when it comes to business, positive or negative, Gail, what's on your mind when it comes to the state of accessible information in the mainstream or from bigwig companies right now?
So, and I'm trying to make sure I understand the question, because honestly, there's nothing that's not accessible anymore. Between Google and YouTube, you can access anything that you want to know in terms of business. Mm-hmm. What I think that, for me, what I think that they lack is that I don't believe right now, for instance, that they are all using social media in the right way, where I think that small businesses have an advantage, because small businesses and entrepreneurs, they don't have as many pieces that they have to move. Large companies, you've got all of these layers of people that you've got to go through in order to, if you have a concept or idea, if someone says, hey, we just discovered really great ways to use Snapchat, let's say, for instance. Well, as an entrepreneur, you can just go and do it and start testing and playing around with it to see what works. How do I help to engage with my customers or prospects? With large companies, you got to go through all of these various layers, and then when they do throw something out, sometimes it's a big production, and it is oftentimes just not effective. It's just not as effective. Today's new buzzword, I'll say, is authenticity. And
Yes.
That's what people want to see. They want to be able to see and capture the realness of a person, as opposed to looking at something that looks like it's been staged and scripted and acted out and glossed and all of that. And so, I don't think that the large companies have totally understood that yet or embraced that yet. And actually, an example of that, we remember about a month or 2 months ago when Pepsi Cola thought it was kind of cool to have the Kardashian woman to, she was there parading down in, looks like, could be Black Lives Matter, it could be all of the various protests. And it's like, oh yeah, sure, you walk up to a cop and give him a Pepsi and all is good. It's like, that is like, how tone deaf can one be? Yeah. And so that commercial got totally trashed because, you're sitting here going, do you guys understand the relationship right now when people have protested and they've come up against police officers in like total riot gear, military gear? You're not giving them a Pepsi and making it all good. That's right. That's no, And so, and then, it also did for me, also bugged me because the way that the commercial was, it definitely put you in mind of Black Lives Matter. That's number one, the way that they were doing it. And the savior was Miss Kardashian, who's not white. who's not black. And so it's, once again, it's like, so she comes out to the forefront. She gets to save the day. And it was just tone deaf on all different kind of levels. And I think they totally missed the mark. And it seemed like they didn't have a conversation with their customers. They really weren't able to tap into how their customers would feel before putting out something like that.
Right.
So that's where I think that they miss it, because I think they are still in some ways out of touch with their real customers.
Oh yeah. That was a prime example.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was really crazy.
So you've got your niche in business that you specialize in, but you also have, the skills and talent required to take on any kind of subject or topic, in my opinion, when it comes to broadcasting. So in your heart of hearts, what kind of topics do you truly seek out or want to ultimately speak about?
Okay. For me, there's not necessarily an ultimate, and I'm really, really glad you brought this up, because there are a lot of things that topics that I'm passionate about. First and foremost, and a lot of times they do end up tying in together. So first and foremost is entrepreneurship, mainly because, in my opinion, oftentimes money and the freedom to generate it and to create the kind of company or business endeavor that you choose, that has it can level the playing field on a lot of different levels. Mm-hmm. For me, it drives me nuts as I'm watching the conversation around the Fight for 15, let's say, for instance. I don't have a problem with Fight for 15 if you're 20. But if you're 40 and you got laid off during the Great Recession, you were in, you could have been in middle management, you could have been in lower management, whatever, but you were earning at least, let's say, $50,000, $60,000. And now you find yourself on the outs, and these people are screaming, fight for $15 an hour. And you're among them with the teenagers fighting for $15 an hour. I just think that's kind of crazy. And so I really would like, instead of people screaming and yelling about fighting for $15 an hour, is to say, let's take your skills that you learned throughout this, at least 10, 15, 20 years of working, and tap into maybe some other inner skills that you didn't even realize you had. And let's see, what can we create with that you can then put whatever price tag you choose to put on it. Because let me tell you, today, in fact, I was watching a couple of young people. There was one young guy who's 19, and he was showing people how they've tapped into social media and Facebook and all of that. And so he was sitting there showing people how he generated like $13,000 a month because he helps people use it. Well, actually, in his particular case, he had an e-commerce store. So he had a Shopify store. And so he was showing people, this is how you do this. He's 19. So if you keep drilling into somebody that they're only supposed to be making $15 an hour, you'll never be able to expand your mind outside of that. And to be really honest, in particular, in terms of things that I'm passionate about, especially in the African American community, I just absolutely positively believe that there's so much talent in there. And in general, our society is constantly trying to get people to conform to, you need to go to school and get this job. And what I hear oftentimes is, the reason the inner cities or what have you are so bad is because there are no jobs. And so I am passionate about getting to a point where letting people know you don't have to have a job. You can create a service. You can create a product. You can tap into somebody else's product and service and sell it. There are just certain skills that you need to learn. A lot of them you already have, because kids are innately salespeople. If anybody has any children, they know how to sell. They can get it done. And if you can have young people going out selling Girl Scout cookies or doing fundraisers at school, then you can take those exact same skills and create something for yourself. So that's the one thing for me. And in terms of the other topics, I just thought about it. I was getting into this conversation yesterday because of some of the social cultural issues that are going on right now, with this fight an argument over people kneeling, right? And so I ended up yesterday, it was really kind of funny because that's why I ended up being up till 3 o'clock in the morning this morning, because I got into those conversations. And so, and in fact, last year I started a show. My show was called Diva Talk. And it was conversations and we had a panel of women, but the conversations were around things that impacted everybody, but that were specifically concerning women. And so those are the kinds of things. I am a very social conscious person. And so those are the kind of topics that I like being able to question, get involved with, get in people's heads, because there are times I just don't get it. And I'm like, you know what? The only way for me to understand is I need to have a platform or find out how to get into your head. You need to answer these questions for me, because a lot of it doesn't make sense. And I see people screaming at each other as opposed to listening and trying to put themselves in the other person's shoes. So those are the kinds of topics that I would like to talk about. Young people and with entrepreneurship, some of the social injustices and things that are going on. Those are the other topics that I like am totally all in. Environmental issues, things that are taking place like that. So those are the topics that I'm like totally into. And the spirituality part. I'm telling you, I love the fact that I was listening to you and I'm like, oh my God, he's talking about indigo. He's talking about, light and all of this. And I'm like, okay, I am like so down with that. So yeah.
That's awesome. And I remember Diva Talk. Is that still around?
I that's interesting. Yeah, I closed it down for now because Diva Talk, it was specifically a conversational platform. That was my hobby. That was my other thing I wanted to do. And so I'm like, that's good, but I got to make sure I put my energy into some revenue-producing projects before I can do my pet project. So it's still out there. It hasn't gone anywhere. It's just kind of sleeping right now until I bring her back up.
I got you. That's what kind of happened to our talk show, is that it wasn't the main course. So I had to say, you know what, let's sit this to the side for now and focus on what is making profit.
Exactly.
All right, so my story about working 9-to-5 jobs, being a creative person, always felt like I was in a cage, like they wasn't using my full capabilities, or I was at a cap. You know, I reached a certain amount of money, couldn't make any more money, couldn't move up, couldn't do anything but stay stagnant. I do not like that. I feel like I'm at that point in a cage, can't use my creativities, can't use, the skills that I have acquired over the years. So I always thought about quitting, and setting out on my own path, but, just afraid because, I had a family. But then, unfortunately for the company, they shut down. Yeah. And I guess that was the universe saying, okay, now here's your chance. The company is gone. You don't need to go find another 9-to-5 because you're going to be unhappy again. Now it's time to do what you do. Okay, so I took that, and there was like points during the first 2 years of Vigilantes Radio where I did end up going back to work, but only like part-time to, make sure that the website stay up, and other companies and business ventures were, because those cost money. Money.
That's
so
it.
I had to go back to work, and, I didn't work hard enough on my own yet. It was still, putting my toe in the water instead of just diving in. And so, I hated everything that I did at that point, part-time, and but I did it, just to get by, pay bills. Each time it happened, or even points where I even considered going back for whatever reason, I always felt like I would be in danger, to being sucked back into the corporate world again, working a meaningless 9-to-5 job somewhere, then doing what I love to do. From your own experience, Gail, how do you go about protecting your own existence at the Monetize-U Show?
Well, I am totally with you there, and I totally agree. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what all of the, you look at the late night TVs and whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, you just, you can go to work when you want to, and you can, work in your pajamas and da-da-da-da. Look, it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of, and there is an investment. And so, and as you said, you got to keep the lights on. If I don't have anything else, it's like, I got to have my internet.
Oh, yeah.
I got to have the internet, okay?
Do not disconnect me from the grid at all.
Exactly. So I have to have my phone. I have to have the internet. And I can survive with those two. Now, I will say this, because this is where resourcefulness has come in, because I have gone through that. What you're talking about, I have gone through that. Mm-hmm. Where, there was once, we didn't have any electricity, all kinds of stuff. Happens. Honestly, if a person decides to go full-blown entrepreneur, expect that is going to happen. I have never met anyone who was in this space that had it all good all the time. Not regular everyday people.
Unless you're Donald Trump. Yeah.
Okay, so I was not going to say that. Okay.
Yeah.
But exactly. Okay. So. And I would go. So luckily, I would go to the library and use their internet. I would go. The best place I would find was I would go to the hotel because they always had a business center, so I could go to a hotel. That way, I also had a chance to meet people, and I was networking. And then I would invite people to my office. And they're like, oh, where are you? And then I would tell them, I would have appointments. I would tell them. And then it's like, oh, yeah, Panera Bread. Yeah, this is my office. You can have anything you want to eat. You can have coffee all day long. So I would literally go to Panera Bread like at 9 o'clock, and I didn't leave until maybe 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening, depending on what my day was. Yeah. So the bottom line is I found a way. Now, in addition to that, yeah, I've done the same thing. I would fight, but I was like, okay, if I'm going to go out, if I'm going to get something part-time, I need to make sure that it's still plugged into the internet, because I just, I had to do that. And so I've done that too. There ain't nothing wrong with doing that. You have to. But I will say this too. One of the things that we do and one of the ways that the Monetize-U Show was created is because of kind of like what you're just saying. I've done all kinds of things when the going gets rough, the rough gets real creative.
Oh yeah.
And so and what came out of that here are some things you can do as your side hustle, as your, oh my God, I need to make some money like right now. What can I do? And so that's when actually I began to learn about eBay and oh my God, I created so many different things. I will absolutely never forget but finding there are two companies. One is Cafe Press. There's another one called Zazzle. And this was like back in 2008.
Oh,
and the
good times.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And look, check this out. So here's the thing. This is how. Yeah, I'm telling you, stuff gets real. I was a real estate investor, and from 2002 up to about 2007, things were all good. They was all good. Okay, I had just bought a house. It was fabulous. And then the Great Recession hit, right? And then it went totally collapsed from there. So now I'm trying to dig my way out. And so at this point, it was 2008, and I came across Zazzle. And of course, you had the nomination of President Obama. And Zazzle is a promotional, where you can create promotional items. So you can take photos or images and you can put them on all kinds of stuff, whether it be buttons or hats or t-shirts or what have you. It's really, really grown now. But it's free to do. You can set up an account. It's free. You create whatever it is you want to create. And when it gets sold in their marketplace, you get a commission. And that commission is based on whatever you have decided that the markup is based on the wholesale price versus what you want to pay. And so I created this button that had, President Obama on there. And I didn't know what I was doing. I just did it. And he got nominated in June. So from June through December, I had a button. And then when he got elected, I created a t-shirt. In like 3 or 4 months, I had generated $700, and I didn't even know what I was doing.
Wow.
That was welcomed because at that point, I had like $0. I had nothing. And so I'm like, dang, I didn't know this was going to work like this. But you get creative. And so those are the kinds of things that we talk about, on the show. It's like, here are some areas that you can tap into that's totally free. You just got to put your own hustle into it in terms of getting it out into the sphere. And honestly, back in that time, 2008, I don't think there was a Twitter. I'm not sure. I can't remember when Facebook came out, but Facebook hadn't been out that long. I think Facebook came out in 2006. Twitter, Twitter came out, what was it, 2010, something like that, because they just celebrated like 5 years. So we didn't have the social media out the way that it is now. Definitely didn't have live streaming and all of that. So, but the thing is, you figure it out. But it is definitely a great idea, in my opinion, to have a part-time something, because if nothing else, kind of like that peace of mind is going, okay, at least I know I'm going to have something coming in, but you were spot on when you said you have to also be careful, because when you know for sure, okay, I know on this day or every 2 weeks or whatever, I'm going to get a paycheck, versus as an entrepreneur, you got to go create that. You got to go create it. You can get complacent. You can get so that's why it's like, if you're going to do it, don't make it too comfortable. Make it something that you're not going to like, but that you're just doing because it can, as you said, keep the lights on, keep things going. but because one can definitely get complacent.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh yeah. All right. So, and on that note, I like to think about it as a bird. You know, a bird doesn't have the same food source every day, and unless somebody's going out there and feeding it with a bird feeder. Other than that, that bird has to get up every morning and find his food for the day. So, all right. So obviously we get that the small businesses or even internet-based businesses come and go, but it also takes an enormous amount of care and confidence to continue down a path where the main motivation comes from within, you know. It can be tough when it's all up to you alone, like it was for me, or even with a partnership, pass or fail. No matter what the job is, a lot goes into running it. So give us some insight into what a day in the life of Gail Turner-Brown is like, and all that goes into running the Monetize-U Show, and even some of your marketing consultations.
Yeah. Okay. So a day in the life, that is amazing. I'm going to tell you, this is really why this is funny. There are times I tell people I don't have a life. And in fact, I have to oftentimes force myself, which I did today, because I said, okay, I know I'm going to be talking today, so I need to kind of do certain things. I had to force myself. It was a gorgeous day, as I said. I'm like, go out for a walk, Gail. Go for a walk. So usually, what I do is I usually wake up at about 6:30 or so, and I do my meditation. I have to kind of get my head together,
Nice.
Because this is a head game. You have to, again, you hit on some really great points. You have to keep yourself going. You have to, when you don't want to do it, or when you're tired, or when you're sleepy, or when you just want to get that little extra, hour or whatever, but okay, I've got to get these things done. You got to get your head right, and you got to get your space right. So a lot of times I will do that. One of the other things that I do, and it works for me, is I'll put on music during the day. Depending on what I'm doing, I have certain music that helps me concentrate. I have certain music that kind of keeps my energy level up. And so I'll do that. And then I listen to podcasts. Now, the challenge with some of the podcasts I listen to is that I can't listen to it as background noise, because I will end up getting really involved or paying attention to what they're talking about, because some of the podcasts I listen to are really, really good. And so I have to be careful, because I have to kind of bring myself back to where I need to be. So, but I kind of structure my day where, I said I get up, I do my meditation, prepare for the day, and then I'm in front of my computer. Now, what I have been doing, and I'm getting ready to increase, is because of the Monetize-U Show is a weekly show, I said what I'm going to do is I get on Periscope, because I want to be on air every day in some way, form, or fashion. So I have used Anchor. I'll do an Anchor every day to let people know what's going to be coming on, or what the next guest is going to be for the following week. So I'll do like a 5-minute Anchor, I'll do a 20 or 30-minute Periscope. Then I'll go through my Facebook and my Twitter feed, because that's where I make a lot of my connections for people to come onto the show. So, that's where I go look for my guest to come onto the show. Now, again, luckily for me, I have a team. I have a 3-person team. So we have someone that does the tech work in the background, and then I have my co-host, and each of us kind of take a piece of the puzzle. So he may find someone that comes onto the show. Well, then I may create their show card or the graphic and start getting the word out. And our producer is collecting the assets and making sure that everything is working properly, in the background. He's putting the music together. He may be editing the show from the week before. So we have a lot of pieces to the puzzle, because you're right, it takes a lot to go to do it. So my main focus becomes I'm like the recruiter. I'm like the PR person that goes out and finds the people that come onto the show to make sure that they are a fit, as well as I am the one who puts out a lot on Twitter, and I'm on Facebook quite a bit, and on the other social media platforms. And so that's pretty much what my function. And then my success partner, my co-host, he does a lot of the copy, creating the email series and things like that. So another point I think that I want to be able to make to drive home to people is this. And again, this is just from my experience. I've been in business for a long time, what feels like a really long time. I've done some kind of business, some kind of way, at least for the last 15 years. And what I discovered is it is a team sport, that you really need to have a team of people. Personally, I have kind of obliterated the phrase solopreneur, because you can't do everything by yourself. Everybody may not be a partner per se in your business, but you have people that are a part of your business to help it go. And so that's the other thing, and that's another way to leverage yourself as well, and to leverage the areas that you're not real good at. Because again, like for me, I have put together the web pages. I've done create the video, but that's not where I necessarily want to spend my time. So I find we get other people that know how to do those things a lot better and a lot faster than me, and say, can you do this while I go over here and do what I do best? So that is the other part too. So I spend a lot of time with our team, planning for the shows that are coming up, planning for the style of the show or some of the things that we want to do. We're planning to have some giveaways, and I like doing stuff that's fun. So I'm always looking at what can we do to just make it fun, make it enjoyable. People like entertainment as well as education and information. So I do that. The other thing, the last part I'll do, the last piece that I attempt to do is I belong to a lot of Facebook groups. So I'll go into my groups, and because I'm always trying to make connections with people and or support people that are there that also have shows. So I'll listen to their podcasts or their live stream, and try to participate and be a part of their show. So that's really how it ends up being divided up. And at some point in there, I eat. Sometimes I usually eat. The problem is that you end up eating over your computer, which is what I've done. And now sometimes my keys on the laptop doesn't work, so I'm like, okay, that's not a good idea. But yeah, you spend a lot of time trying to get the engine revved up to the way you want to get it revved up. The good part is that when you look at it strategically, and when you go into it and you look at, okay, what do I want my outcome to be? Then you can kind of plan your day of how you want the outcome to be. Because you look at the strategy of how much money do we want to generate? What do we need to do? Now, what are the pieces of the puzzle that need to go in here in order to create that? And now let's put those mechanisms in place. And once that's done and once it's going, then you really, there's a point in which it will be going without you. But you've got to continue to prime that pump and get it revved up before you can get it to that point. And that's where your time and your energy comes from, and in those beginning stages.
Definitely. As your whole project has progressed for you and your team, what has changed along the way, and how have you adapted to make whatever changes necessary to establish the show as a viable entity that will last?
Well, one of the things that has changed is me. When we first started the show, because I came up with the show. Well, actually, it's really kind of interesting. My success partner actually reached out to me because he had just written a book and was launching his book. So he was looking for, where can he go promote it? And at the time, it was called the GTB show. So he reached out to me and he wanted to, come onto the show. And he did. I interviewed him and I loved the idea of his book, which is called Monetize Your Skills. And so a month or so later, I started thinking about it and, we had really good energy together. And I said, why don't we do this? And so we came up with the name because the whole premise was about not going out and finding something new, but how to take what you already have from either what you know or just kind of like what's inside of you and create that. Well, what I found as things have progressed over the last few months is that the show has morphed from what I initially had in my mind to what it is now, and I'm sure it's going to morph some more. So the idea is, and this can be a challenge for some people, so you have to be flexible and you have to not try to hold on to what you think it should look like or what it should be. Because sometimes just because that's what you think doesn't necessarily mean that's what is going to work. And so when they came in and bought into my idea, they brought things to the table, and here was a part that I thought was really good. So as I mentioned, there are 3 of us. Well, we're also 3 generations. Ooh. So I'm the adult in the room. So I'm the baby boomer. My success partner is a Gen X. He just missed the millennial. He's like a year or so off of what would be called a millennial.
Yeah.
And then our producer is, I can't remember, I think it's Gen Y. So he's, so you got me in my 60s, I've got 40s, and I got 30s. And there are 2 guys and then me. So we're all kind of coming to this from a different mindset and perspective. And so you have to be flexible, you have to be open, you have to be willing to listen. And so in order for you to make it, and be willing to, as you just said, make certain adjustments and not be so much in control, because that is also what happens when a person is an entrepreneur. Oftentimes the reason they say solo is because everything is on and about them. Mm-hmm. And you want to end up being in control because you are in control of everything. And so when you are now working with other people, depending on your personality, you have a tendency to say you want to stay in control. You can't do that. Not in this. This is not a hierarchy. Not what we're doing. There are some people who create businesses that you have the CEOs and things like that. But in our business, there's no hierarchy. Everyone has it's like an equal co-branch of government. This is an equal co-branch of the business, because everybody brings something different to the table that we don't know how to do. And so you learn to be flexible and to morph into what is best for the business. Everything doesn't work. We'll bring up something and try it, and it's like, oh, that bombed. That did not work. That didn't come out the way I thought it was going to come out. But be willing to then talk about it, go over it, what worked, throw out what didn't work, and then you go try something else. And it becomes fun, because it's like, oh, okay, let's see. This is an adventure. It's an adventure. That's what it is.
Okay. Now, you just talked about some very interesting points about, solo versus a team. And I can tell you that I'm a good team player. But since I'm a natural leader of some sort, alpha male, I'm not the type of alpha male that goes and take things. I'm the type that will build his own kingdom. I have a tendency of taking over. Like anything I touch, I end up being in some kind of management or leader position. It happened at every job. I can start on the bottom. Next thing you know, I'm the guy who's running, the shop.
Right.
But and it is just I think it's just something personal with me, because I feel like, if you want the work done right, you have to do it yourself. So it's like I could be the CEO, the COO, the CFO, the treasurer, the president, the management, and also, just a regular guy, all in one. And I feel like I have to duplicate myself or train somebody to be just like me in order to make something successful. And at times that system does get lost because people are too unique for that. I mean, if it would be totally just all messed up if, I train somebody to be exactly like me and they can't flourish. That means I'm putting a cap on them and I'm doing what these 9-to-5 jobs did to me to them, and I can't do that.
And here's the other thing that can happen. You find somebody that's just like you, so now you got two alpha males. So what do? They're gonna butt heads, right? Yeah. And so,
see, I'm more of the peaceful kind of alpha. I would leave and go do something else before I, clash with another leader. Because it's just me personally. I hate confrontation. I hate bumping heads. And arguments, I'll be like, okay, yeah, you right. All right, take that, and I'll go build something else. That's just me. But I get what you're saying, though.
But here's the thing, and that's the key. Leading does not always mean that you're doing everything. Because I will tell you, you cannot do everything and succeed. It's just not going to work. And one of the things that I remember reading Richard Branson, and he has, I think he runs, I know it's like over 300 companies. And if he were trying to do everything, that would not be possible, because you're only one person and you only have a certain amount of time. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I remember him saying is, for him, he's like, I hire good people and then I allow them to do what I hired them to do, so that I can move on. Yeah. But you can also devise systems or mechanisms to determine, okay, is this person working out the way I need them to work or not? And if it turns out that you're not, okay, you sever that and then you move on. Mm-hmm. I have been in situations like that, where I did have, the show I created, my very first show that I created was called Small Business Network TV. And I met two other people. Actually, we initially met three other people that had different aspects. One was two of them were social media specialists. One was a business organizer, and he was also a coach. And so we would get together, and man, we just had a lot of clashes. And so it got to a point where I just had to stop. And it's like, okay, you know what? This isn't working for me. And since, in this situation, they were not my employees. We were all working together. So, but it was my business, So technically, it was like they were I'll use the word, my vendors. Mm-hmm. Because my function was still to do the show, and then what we would do is say, hey, yes, because it's a part of my consulting business. So I'm like, yes, we can manage a Twitter, let's say, for instance, but that would go to the person who was in that function. But they had their own business too. They had their own social media business. So they were my vendor. But when it got to a point where it was just really clashing, I was like, you know what, this is just not working. And so let me go, y'all go do you, and let me go do me, and we can move on. So, but the thing I think I want people to understand is, even though, yes, you say, oh yeah, I got it, I have to, if I wanted to do it right, I have to do it myself. That's not true. You just have to find people who can do it. And sometimes it's like, even if it's good enough to get things going, because that's the other thing I learned too, especially in the beginning. Sometimes you don't know what's good and what's good enough. And one of the mistakes that I made, one of the many mistakes that I made in that other situation was I felt that even though it was my business, Small Business Network TV was mine, at that time I didn't know social media real well, and I didn't know the technology real well. So I relied on them, and I felt that I didn't have the I'll say the audacity, or I didn't have what it would take to lead the way I was supposed to lead, because I'm supposed to be not telling them what to do, but I'm supposed to be leading them into my vision, not the other way around. They can offer suggestions, but I have to be the one to make the ultimate decision. Mm-hmm. But again, that's where having great people around, because I went to a friend of mine who's a success coach, and I'm like, okay, look, this is the issue I'm having. And he was able to listen to me, give me feedback. And he said, Gail, you need to lead this team. This is yours. This belongs to you. And you've got to put yourself in that mindset. I don't care that you don't know how to do this and that they're the expert in that particular thing. They're still functioning in your business, and you've got to treat it like that. And so once I got that from him, I was able to kind of go back and say, okay, yes, this is how this is supposed to work. So, a lot of times it takes growing into, you just have to constantly be willing. And that's the biggest thing. You've got to be willing to know, okay, you know what? I need to listen to somebody else that may know more than me in order for me to get this straight. So that's why coaches and mentors are really, really important. Mm-hmm. There's no executive or CEO or anybody that I know that does not have other coaches and people that they talk to help guide them.
Right. So what's the next step in the evolution of the Monetize-U show? Or is it all right where you want it to be right now?
Oh, no. And here's the thing. I don't think it should ever be all right. Because if you think everything is all right, then you end up a blockbuster.
Oh, yeah.
So, no, you got to cause, because stuff is changing so fast now. It's doing faster and faster and faster. So the Monetize-U show. I mean, and we're a baby. We're a baby, and we're growing, and so and it's changing. I mean, initially, as I said, we just did interviews, and then we gave information, but we're changing it or expanding it to one, in terms of the platform, for it to be more entertaining. Have giveaways. We have, we have contests and different things like that. We're actually doing like on the spot, like that's what we did a couple of weeks ago with some expert that we had on how to create an online product in 15 minutes, and we did it like on the spot. So he like did a demo and kind of took everybody through it. You can literally like watch the show and you can go through what he's saying and you can literally create a product right there. So we're constantly looking at how to make it better, what kind of people. In about 2 weeks, I think I'm planning to do a show on people who have businesses that are, I'm going to use the word like entertainment kind of businesses. So I have a young lady who is a caricaturist. I have someone who sings. There's another person who has he's a puppet. That's what it is. He is a puppet. Actually, I don't even know what he looks like. I just know what the puppet looks like. So I talk to the puppet when I have conversations. So I want to bring on, there's a young lady who has a balloon business. So we want to bring on different kinds of people like that who have things that people would think are unusual, but that they're generating revenue from it, and showing them how they can, if they have that kind of talent or have that skill or even want to get into that, they can do the same thing. So that's what we're doing. We're constantly morphing into how to do it. And then most important, I shouldn't say most important, but the other area is showing people how they can do what we're doing. If they want to have a show, we can help them produce that show or come up with the ideas and the concepts of what needs to be done. So we're not only hosting a show, but we're also, if people want to do what we're doing, we're helping them to and train them and coach them onto how to do that too. So that's the things that are on the horizon.
Definitely. So I like asking this particular question. How do you define success? Like, what metrics do you personally subscribe to?
For me, success is when you come up with a concept, when you have an idea or something that you want to do, and you go out and do it, and you go through the necessary mental changes to accomplish it, and you grow from it, I think that is what I define as success. So at the end of the day is, did I set out to do a thing, go through what I had to go through, grow through what I needed to grow through, so at the end of it, I can say, yeah, I created that. That's how I define success. The money part is always good, but that comes and goes. It's who did you become along the way? You know, how did you change, and who did you impact? And that is, for me, is like super key. It is so exciting to have someone come to you and say, oh my God, Gail, that idea worked. And this is what I was able to do with it. And now I can quit my job, or now I can spend more time with my family, or so on and so forth. That is success to me. When you have impacted other people in a positive way, and now they're now able to pass that on, that's how I define success.
Yes. That is awesome. That is awesome. So what's the most meaningful advice that you've ever been given when it comes to concerning your life? Where did it come from? What was said? And why did it stand out more than anything else other people have said for?
Okay, so I have two things, actually. So, because I heard you say something in your introduction about, how people say, oh, they have to do this and they have to do that, and that you have a choice. So, my father used to say, there's only two things in life you ever have to do: stay black and die. Everything else is a choice. And so I'm like, okay. And so that stuck with me, to realize that if things aren't going the way you want them to go, if you need to go in another direction, it's okay. You can do that. You do not have to suffer. We are not here to suffer. We are here to learn and to grow, and then to move on. And everything is not for everyone, and everything is not permanent, because it's not. We're not. It's just, you have to grow. But the other thing, which was, I'll say more recent, meaning in the last couple of years, was a friend of mine. We were in the same direct sales company together, and we were in a conversation. And one of the things that she said to me is, you have to learn you have to figure out how to make this work for you. So my takeaway from that was, you are not always going to fit in the box that someone else puts for you. Right. And things aren't always going to work the way someone else says it's going to work. So sometimes, so you know how they always say, if life hands you lemons, make lemonade. So I'm like, okay, great. When they hand me lemons, not only are you gonna make a lemonade, you're gonna make a lemonade stand, and you're gonna sell that lemonade, and you're gonna make some money, and then you can franchise it. Okay. So it's how do I use what really is good for me? How do I take this thing that doesn't seem like it's working out, and help it to work out based on me and not based on anybody else? And so I always remember that. I know she does not realize how much that impacted me, but that is honestly how I discovered I'll say my purpose or what my talents were. Because when I began to look at things like that, and I then started thinking, what am I good at? What really is good for me? And I remember there were two things I used to get in trouble for when I was a kid. And it was I kept asking too many questions and I talked a lot. And so from that is where I discovered live streaming, where I can ask as many questions as I want, and I can talk as much as I want, and I can make money from it too.
Right.
And so those are those two pieces of advice that you can always change. Everything is a choice, and then you just find what's good for you, and you make that work for you, whatever it is, and then you move on from there.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So what channels do you use to distribute and promote your works and businesses? And why do you think these outlets works best for your company and clients?
I absolutely love live streaming. Now, I do live broadcasts. I mean, like I said, I'm on Facebook Live and on Periscope. And from that, we are going to be doing our podcast, right? But I love live streaming. That's how we distribute it most. Well, through social media. So the various social media platforms, like I said, we're on Twitter. We're getting ready to up my Instagram game. But because I'm able to not only reach more people, but different people. I had a session with someone just before we got on, and we were talking about distribution, of the to get a further reach and so forth of the show. And she said, you don't have to stay in the United States. And it's like, yeah, that's absolutely correct. There are people from all over the world because of the technology that we have available to us. And so that's what we use. We use live streaming predominantly. There are people right now that's on, not only that are on my team, but people who I am really good friends with. I have never met them in 3D. I've only met them virtually. And we've developed a really great friendships and connectedness. And so that's why I say sometimes I feel like I don't have a life. I have a two-dimensional, I have a virtual life. Because my entire life right now, from everything I do, from the clients we help to the friends I have, to the live streamers and podcasters that I'm connected with, is all in my virtual world. But that's why, again, I took live streaming as a mechanism to build a business from. But I also love it knowing that you can use live streaming. Live streaming is also a good platform for outside of your business. So in other words, if you have a bridal shop that's on the corner, you can use live streaming as another piece of marketing that a lot of people don't realize. You can use it to connect with your clients, to do customer service, to roll out new products, to show them behind the scenes. You've got a restaurant, you can show them behind the scenes. You got a bed and breakfast, you can take people through. So it's just a really good mechanism to connect with your audience, to get your word out, to increase your credibility and your visibility. And then there's so many platforms you can use outside of that, so you literally can end up everywhere. I have friends right now who have walked through airports and have gotten noticed and recognized from people because they've seen them on their Periscope or on their YouTube channel or what have you.
Right.
So, you can definitely become a star, if you will, just from being on these platforms.
Definitely. So in closing, tell us something about any new projects or ideas that you have in store for us that are about to release.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. So yeah, we have two things. One is I'm showing and teaching people, and we're getting ready to release the course. It's called Get Known Faster, which is about exactly what we're talking about. A lot of times the fastest way to get the word out about who and what you are is to get onto other people's podcasts and live streams. but it's a good idea. There's certain things that you need to do to prepare for it and to put it together. And, if there are people you want to pitch and so on and so forth. So that's a course that we created to how to be a really good guest and how to get onto other people's platforms, and then how to then take that and what to do with it to generate revenue. So that is going to be released. The other one that I have 3 projects. The other one is we just launched a sponsorship program for our show. So again, people can come on. They don't have to be on at that time if they choose not to be, because again, it's visual. It's through Facebook Live. So the way that our show is set up, we can stream out a graphic of your logo, or on our lower thirds, we can stream through back and forth your product. But if you do want to come on, you can do that too, where we will spotlight and highlight you, and as a sponsor of the show, and that goes throughout the show. We have it every week. And then it's also distributed through our YouTube channel and so on and so forth. So it's a really great way to get the exposure that you want, tap into other audiences. We're doing the advertising through Facebook ads and so on and so forth. So, we're marketing it to get the audience for you to get in front of, for them to sell. So we have that. And then the third part is to be a best-selling author. The thing is, a lot of people don't know how to do it, what to do. And I'm saying you don't have to worry about any of that. It's going to be a collection of people who want to be a best-selling author. They can have a chapter in the book. We're going to put the book together. We're going to make it a bestseller, because we know how to do that. It's great to be connected with great people. We know how to do that. And so now a person can be a part of a book that goes to best-selling status. Now they have another way of having credibility. So we will be launching that one too. It's called Real Talk with Entrepreneurs, Conversations with Entrepreneurs.
Nice.
And so we got that project, and then our sponsorship project, and then how to be a great guest and capitalize on being how to monetize being a guest on other platforms.
Nice. All right, guys, after the music break, it'll be time for our usual tradition. It is called the hot seat, and our fans love this part of the segment, of course, along with the actual interview, but the audience get to hear either some good old singing, maybe Gail can sing, or maybe she has some poem or inspirational speech she want to tell us, spoken word, maybe she can freestyle rap, or maybe tell us a joke or two, or maybe just share a real cool story. The choice is hers to make. And you never know what these creative minds and vessels will produce in the spotlight. And this afternoon, we'll find out if Gail-Turner-Brown have what it takes to be put on the spot, a tester for true artistry, and maybe even some hidden talent. But for right now, we have an artist by the name of Reed Lee with a song called Arrowheads. And we'll be right back.
Little revolutions, I suppose. Saddle up, we're heading out, sailing out at noon. Minor revolutions as we go. I learn your favorites, playing the fool. Highways on my mind, picking a song for you might save my life. I'll be coming home soon. For as long as I remember, I won't surrender. Highways, broken arrows, I'm losing this battle when I am with you. Sideways burns the candle, I still see your shadow, like you just left the room. Arrowheads to grind, stationed in the ocean, cross the coast. Never met another man, played a guitar like you. making restitutions with your ghost. I'll drink another glass of whiskey for two. Highways on my mind, picking a song for you might save my life. I'll be coming home soon. For as long as I remember, I won't surrender. Highways, broken arrows, I'm losing this battle when I am with you. Sideways burns the candle, I still see your shadow, like you just left the room. All we left behind, will I see tomorrow? He saved my life, broke me to the marrow. My friends who died goes to hunt the gallows. Highways, broken arrows, I'm losing this battle when I am with you. Sideways burns the candle, I still see your shadow, like you just left the room. Arrowheads grind, arrowheads to grind, arrowheads to grind.
All right, and we are back again. That was Reed Lee with a song called Arrowhead. So I just want to tell you guys, you have to rejoice in your challenges. You say, Dini, what do you mean by that? Well, what I mean is, if you feel like giving up, basically your dream isn't big enough. Whenever you attempt anything, you will have challenges. That is to be expected. There will be days when you wonder if anything will ever come of your efforts. People will scoff at you, laugh at you, conspire against you, steal your ideas, ignore you. Deals will fall through, things will break, people will lie to your face. And that happens in life anyway, so that should just be water off your back, right? Remember that the challenges are not there to stop you. The challenges are there to help you grow, to help you be the person who can attain the dream you're following. In fact, the person you become in pursuit of your dream is worth far more than any dream could ever be. So, be a little optimistic. Be thankful for the hard times, for the challenges, because they give you something that no one can ever take away from you. And with that, let's bring Gail back on. Gail, you're now live in our hot seat. What do you have for us?
Well, you reminded me of, it's interesting. Now, I know, do I rap? No. Do I sing? No. Okay? You would not want me to do that. Trust me. But I do remember, it's really interesting, I used to keep, it was a poem, I guess it is, up on my wall for just those things, like you said, as you just indicated. You know, you got to embrace the challenges, because that is a part of the process, period. And that is what helps you grow. But the other thing is, as you're growing through these things, there is not anything that you can think of that you really can't achieve. It's already there. What is it? There's a phrase that says, ask and it is given. And it really is. And a lot of times we forget about that if you just ask and put yourself in the right vibration and do it, life will give you exactly what you asked for. The problem is we oftentimes are asking life for stuff we really don't want, but we don't realize it. And so I remember coming across this poem somewhere, and it would constantly remind me that I have to ask for what I want, because that is what is going to be given to me. And so I think it was done by this guy named Jesse Rittenhouse, and what it says is this: I bargained with life for a penny, and life would pay no more. However, I begged at evening when I counted my scanty store. For life is just an employer. He gives you what you ask, but once you have set the wages, why, you must bear the task. I worked for a menial hire, only to learn dismayed that any wage I asked of life would have gladly paid. So if you're going to go through all you got to go through, then go for something big. Go for it, because that, if you focus on what you want, and what you want is big, then you are more apt to achieve it, because you've got to be able to push through it. Okay, so that's a lot of stuff that I have learned throughout the way, is that I can have what I want, and if I'm going to get it, then I might as well get something big, as opposed to thinking so small, because life is going to give you exactly what you ask. So that's what I have for you.
Definitely, and thank you for that. Thank you. So, Gail, I sincerely want to thank you for doing this interview with us. Everything I've seen, read, and heard shows you truly embody the qualities to inspire millions. So again, thank you. It's truly been an honor and a privilege to interview you. We have a long-standing tradition of offering our guests the Vigilantes Radio open floor at the end of our interviews, and let you mention, say, or talk about anything else that you wanted to that we didn't cover this time around in the interview. Anything at all. It's all up to you.
So, well, one, thank you. This was fun. You know, I'm so used to being on the other end, being the one asking the questions. It's great to have someone ask me questions because they were really thoughtful, and I really appreciate that. The way that you constructed them is really giving me some ideas too. So, you know, don't be surprised if you hear them later on my show. But you know, we really covered it. I would just love for people to go and explore and do what you really want to do. Your own inner guidance will let you know what you really should be doing. And you don't have to do it all on your own. There are times that you can just collaborate with other people, team up with other people, whatever. But you can achieve whatever it is you want to achieve. So that's really pretty much what my bottom line parting thoughts are. And I would love for people to come and check out our show at the-monetize-u show on Facebook.
Where can we find it at? Give us those links.
Okay, so yeah, it's the-monetize-u, the letter U, show. And you can find it on Facebook. It's the same thing on Twitter. It's monetize-u show on Twitter. And same thing on Periscope. So we are there every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central. And it's a lot of fun. And so, yeah, and, you know, come check out the show and like our page and talk to us and engage with us and go on a journey with us.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So that last piece of advice you gave about being open to, you know, collaborations, I'm going to really take that to heart and work on that for myself. So thank you for that.
Good. Okay. You will definitely be a lot less stressed out when you can push off some of that on somebody else. So good. Okay. I'm glad I helped.
Oh, yeah. All right, guys. This is Miss Gail-Turner-Brown.
Thank you, my Vigilantes family, as always, for checking out my podcast over here at Vigilantes Radio. All episodes are available for free download, and you can grab it from either Spreaker.com/only1mediagroup, iTunes, YouTube, the app called Podcast Addict, or our website, which is onlyonemediagroup.com. and that goes for every single show that we've ever aired. If you'd like to request music or send something for us to play, email it to theradio@onlyonemediagroup.com. Here my disclaimer: we are genre free, we do not judge, and we absolutely do not base our opinions on hearsay but facts alone. And actually, you can scratch all of that because all of my opinions are always right. That's the bottom line. This is my show, something you got to deal with. Nah, just kidding. On behalf of myself, Dini-Mussolini, I appreciate you guys for tuning in either afterwards or live with us. Spread the word because sharing is caring. And also special thanks to our guests for joining us. We stepped up our game just for you guys and our guests to make sure you have the best experience here on our show. Be sure to connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Tumblr. We are all over. Just connect with us and we do follow back. Okay, well, just remember to be yourself and be absolutely freaking great at just doing that. Peace.
You are now listening to Vigilantes Radio, the people's choice for quality interviews, art, music, and hot topics. Hosted by Demetrius Houdini Black Reynolds of the duo No Longer the Hero. All episodes of this podcast are available for free download at www.onlyonemediagroup.com. This is a Seventh Sign Regime Rebirth Worldwide Syndicate exclusive.